Hi there everyone, it's Jack Vaughan here, and this video is going to take you through what a musical aptitude test is and how to pass it. Before we even get started though, you're welcome to head over to jvteaching.com/MAT and take a free MAT test. This will hopefully give you a much quicker understanding about what an MAT test is, at least a standard one anyway. This video is going to go through a lot of the other details about what they are and how to pass them. So what is a musical aptitude test? It's designed to look for inherent musicality in a student, and this essentially means measuring their aural capacity, i.e. their ability to hear. Sometimes it's used before learning an instrument, but more commonly it's used as part of the entrance exam for many schools. So what's aural capacity? Aural capacity is the ability to discern detail in things like pitch, texture, and rhythm. So what sort of questions could come up? Well, there could be a number of different formats. One, you could be in a music school or in a hall somewhere listening to a CD and answering multiple choice questions. Or you could be in a meeting with the examiner or the head of music and they might ask you questions like, clap this rhythm, or sing the top note of this chord, or tell me is this second note higher or lower. But there could be many other questions, and this is the slight problem with MAT tests. Whilst there is a kind of standard MAT test, which we'll see in a minute, the problem is that schools keep them quite secret, and this is because they're looking for inherent musical aptitude and they don't want to give people too much preparation time. So there's quite a lot of variations, and so it's quite hard to prepare for. The thing to remember though is that failing doesn't mean you're unmusical. However, failing does often massively affect a school career. It will mean that you don't get into the school that you're after, or that perhaps you don't get the scholarship that you're going for. So the good news is, however, that even though they're looking for inherent musical aptitude, it can be learned and honed, so long as you know what to practice and how to practice it. By doing practice tests, understanding the types of questions that could come up, you're going to get a lot more confident going into the exam. So one of the questions people often ask is, do you have to have studied music before doing an MAT test? The honest answer to this is, well, it helps. However, this is only because those students who've been playing and involved in music so far have been practicing thinking about music for some time. Essentially, the MAT test is a cognitive music test that is designed to look at how the student thinks about the music that they hear. So the concepts are universal, a bit like colour, really. So long as we're encouraging students to think about how music works, should be fine. You don't need to play an instrument to pass most standard MAT entrance exams, but as we'll see, there's another type of MAT exam. So before we get to that, however, let's look at what a standard musical aptitude test actually is. You're almost certainly going to be asked about pitch. This is about hearing the vertical relationships between notes. So the classic one is an examiner might play something like this and ask you, is the second note higher or lower? Here's another one. In the first case it was higher, and in the second case it was lower. They'll also potentially ask you about melody, hearing the difference between melodies. So how was the second melody different to the first? Here's the first one. And the second one. And you'd say that the second to last note was lower. Texture is an interesting one. People often get this mixed up with orchestral or instrumental texture. In regards to just the standard musical aptitude test, it's hearing inside of the harmony of, most commonly, a keyboard and discerning whether there are 3, 4, 2 or 1 notes playing. So here's an example. What the student has to do is listen carefully to that chord and break up the notes in their mind to be able to hear that there are indeed 3 notes playing. You'll also be asked about rhythm, determining the rhythmical difference between 2 phrases or repeating a rhythm back and explaining how it differed. So what else could come up? Well, the answer is lots. So let's look at this a little bit more detailed. So with regards to the pitch section of the exam, you could be doing pitch matching. So the examiner might play a note and ask you to sing it. Pitch recognition, recognizing the degree of the scale. This is where we start to get into the territory of having to have studied a little bit of music so far. Relative pitch, what's the interval between these 2 notes? A perfect fifth. Pitch matching within a texture. So this might be playing a chord and asking the student to sing the middle note. Melody. Melodic contour is about the shape of a melody. If you hear something like the student would be asked to describe the shape of that melody. Essentially, it goes up, stays at the top for a while, turns, and then comes back down quickly. Might be a way that you describe it. Melodic difference, recognizing the difference between two melodies and describing it like we saw a second ago. Repeating a melody back, so this is like the pitch matching, but within a full melody. Transcribing a melody, this is absolutely definitely where a student has to have studied music before because they'll be writing it down on manuscript. Texture. Harmonic texture, how many notes are playing, as we saw. Types of harmony, is this music in a major or a minor key? Is this a major or a minor chord? Instrumental texture, how many instruments are playing and can you even name them? Rhythm, repeating a clap to rhythm or clapping part of a piece of music, like the third bar of a piece of music. Rhythmic difference, recognizing the difference between two rhythms. Length of notes, knowing the difference between a minim, a crotchet, and what that sounds like. Transcribing a rhythm on paper, and more. So this is where the lines start to blur between a standard MAT test and a specialist music entrance exam. In the former, a standard MAT test, you might just be part of the first wave of exams to get into a school. In the latter, it might be the second wave or indeed to get a music scholarship. And you'll certainly need to have been playing an instrument for a while to get through the second. And for the specialist music exam, you're almost certainly going to have an interview. Interview questions will cover even more detail about the way music works. Things about tempo, like did the piece slow down or speed up? Or how fast did you think it was? They might ask you funny questions about mood and emotion, like how does this music feel? Or what was the composer thinking? Also about instruments, what instrument is playing? Name me a brass instrument. And definitely you'll have to do some sight reading. Keys and harmony, knowing about the different sharps and flats of scales, how many flats does A flat major have, or what chord is this when they're showing you at the piano. Musical form, knowing about the structure of pieces and potentially even forms like rondo, sonata, that sort of thing. The other thing that the examiners are going to want to know is about your relationship with music. Adults will know that when they do interviews, you often get asked quite difficult questions. But essentially, what examiners and people who are interviewing you for jobs want to know is that you like what you do. They want to know that you like music. So they might ask you, why do you like music? Or tell me how you practice. That's a slightly more practical question. Or what would you contribute to the musical life of the department? What musical activities are you involved in? What pieces do you enjoy playing and why? And who is your favourite musician? All of these questions and more are really worth thinking about and practicing your answers, because otherwise you can come unstuck. Even though you may know the answer, you may not have articulated it yet. So as I said earlier, you're welcome to go over to jvteaching.com/MAT and test yourself on a simple MAT test. So beyond that, how can you prepare? Well, I'm a private music teacher and I've taken a number of students through these MAT and specialist music entrance exams over the years. And I've kind of collated a lot of the different tools and tricks and practices that I've done with them into one long course. And this is something that I'm going to show you. So it's over at jvteaching.com/MAT. And let me take you through the course curriculum now. So the course starts with an introduction specifically for parents and teachers. I really recognized when I was putting this course together that it's not necessarily going to be taken just by the student who might be 11 upwards. The parents and the teachers will be taking a very, very active role in helping this student prepare for the exam. So throughout the course, it's peppered with these different bits of advice for parents and teachers, as well as the practical practice exams and then the test exams as well. So this is the first part of the course. It's the MAT test entrance exam, the kind of straightforward one that I outlined a minute ago. But as we go down, we move into the music specialist section, which is potentially for students who are going for roles in music schools which require kind of existing musical ability. So i.e. you're already playing an instrument or going for a scholarship perhaps. And this contains all of the kind of more advanced stuff to do with texture, rhythm and pitch recognition, as well as interview questions. So we have the music specialist introduction, texture, all these different things about harmonic intervals, rhythm, melody, and interview preparation. So I hope that was useful. As I said, head over to jvteaching.com/MAT if you want more information. Thanks very much for watching this video and good luck.